As we can see here, this is my week 3 project where I use the New York Times movie reviews API to go ahead and create new views that are holding everything that we wanted. So I go ahead and I pull out the title, which you can see here at the top where my cursor is. It pulls out the rating, and then it pulls out the reviewer. Then we have a button right here called review, and when you click this button, it goes ahead and it loads up the web URL of the full article from New York Times API. And then for the close button, because I'm using a module window, I created my own X with Illustrator, and you just click it and it closes. Now you can scroll through here, and I believe it pulls 20 movies. Some of them are well known, some of them not so much, but you can see every single one of them. It'll give you the rating if there is one. Some of these are not rated because they're not suited for people or there's no rating for them. Others, you can see here that they just didn't have a rating when they ended up pulling from the API, even though it ends up pulling through all my code. Now this is the iOS version that I'm showing here. Right here is the Android version, and you can see some slight differences. With iOS 7, they got rid of the actual boxing around your buttons when you create a button, but with Android, it automatically creates it for you. So this kind of sets it apart a little bit different. Now I created a custom background that I pulled offline to go ahead and give each field and each view a little bit of a little pop. Since we're looping through, it kind of helps separate it because it goes dark to light and then dark to light over and over again. But the same thing here, you click review and unfortunately it stops working. The one downside that we have had is that they cannot create the calendar. For some reason, the var event 1 create calendar is just not working. So we're going to go ahead and continue. As you can see, it just doesn't like running with it. Something's going on with my iOS simulator. But as you saw over here, and we'll go back over, you can see Mad Max Fury Road still works. So now we're going to take a little bit look at the code and how I run through this. So first off, you have my app.js. This is what goes ahead and requires if there's a network. If there is, it's going to go straight to my cloud server. If not, it's going to let us there's no internet connection, and you're basically not going to get anything. So now we're going to go over to cloud. This is my cloud, where I'm going ahead and logging into my cloud for the account that I created through Accelerator. As you can see, we're having success getting through. And that ends up coming out up here, right here. We're having success getting through. We're about to call the API. So then we actually don't call our API because we go into Geo. Geo goes ahead and it pulls the geolocation for the hard-coded area we're in, unless you're on iOS, and then it goes ahead and pulls the eCoords.latitude. Then you go into my API from the GetGeo. The API is pretty simple. This is the URL we're using for our API. This is my empty array. We're going to go ahead and we're setting up the other empty array within our onload function. And we're going to go ahead and give the object var movie inside our for loop, and we're going to pull all of this stuff out. So we're going to get the title, the opening date, the source. We're going to get the rating, who wrote the review, the short summary, the URL, and the suggested link. And then we push everything, console log it, and then on error it'll tell us if we're having an error. From our API, we're going to go ahead into our database. Our database is going to go ahead and store everything. And so right up here, I create a variable called database rows, and it's going to select from. And while the row is valid, it's going to go ahead and movie info is now our new name. So down here, we're going to require the UI. We're going to pass our UI movie info since it's now holding everything that was in our movie array that we put into our table. And then down here in our saved, we're going to go ahead and execute everything and create our ID and the movie array text, and then we're deleting and inserting into movie array, and we're giving it one value since we're passing everything. Now, if you notice here, JSON.stringify, that is because we are going ahead and we're stringifying everything that I'm passing. If I was individually passing everything and not the whole array, then we would not need JSON.stringify, we'd just do each individual object. But I've found that passing the array is a little easier, but some people run into a problem if you don't remember to parse that back out. If you don't parse it out and then try to loop it through a for loop, it will go ahead and run through every single character. So for me, that'd be over 7,000 characters, and that's just not good. Your computer will run slow and possibly try to blow up on you. So now we get into my UI. Now, right up here, we're going ahead and we're creating p-width and p-height. That's going to give us our platform width and our platform height for our whole design page and our user interface. Right here is my calendar. For some reason, I'm having a little issues with this. You know, I've looked at a lot of documentation, just can't seem to figure out why it keeps breaking on this line right here. Don't know if I'm calling it wrong, if I'm setting that context up wrong, so that's something else that I'm going to keep looking into. Then you go down here, and then we have our ifs. This is our checking to see for what platform we're using. This is for iPhone or iPad. We're creating our window, our Win2, our close button, our scroll view. Down here, this is all for Android. We're creating our Win1, Win2, close button, and our scroll view. And then down here, we move into the build UI function, and I'm passing the argument of move. I console log it right here because I want to see what it's holding and make sure that I'm actually getting all the information that I want within that argument. So then I'm going to go down here to this console.log, and once again, I stringify the new thing. And then I go ahead and create var URL. And I create my URL and I run through everything that's going to be designed on my UI page. And then I create my calendar label, and then my view, my image, my title, and then my calendar label once again. And then I create the release, the producer, the summary, the rating. And right down here is where I'm calling everything to actually fill it with the information that I called from my API. Then down here I'm using my close button. This is my event listener that's going to close my modal window. And then right below it is where I create the actual button that creates the modal window with the web view with inside like we saw on the iOS version right here where we opened up review. So, and then we're going to go down here, and this is where my calendar is actually calling up to that function. Now, we don't need E because we're not actually passing it a date. Like I said, I'm having some issues with it, so we're trying to figure it out. We've been playing with a lot of things. And then right down here is where I add the close button to my window 2, add everything to my view, add my scroll view to my view, or my view to my scroll view. And then I add the scroll view, and then I open it. And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you.